Luke 8:17. For nothing is secret that shall not be made manifest, neither anything hid that shall not be known and come abroad. Call halal Yahweh Bashem Awashai by Hashem Rakakadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so now and more so than ever. To the scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth, that be like unto the speckled bird, the Israelite foreigners who look like the heathen nations. And to the Akwath that are listening and learning, to you, I say Shalom. This is your brother Malcolm from the branch of the Great Millstone here in Chicago. And yeah, there's nothing that they can hide that's not going to be revealed in time. And this is part 2 of He Shall Enter into the House of the Thief. This was a clip that was put up by RT about a professor who said some things about, a typical Israelite cooning, like the one on the screen now, who's basically backing up Esau Edom, coming against what they call CRT, which is critical race theory, and they make it sound like it's that's a very bad word. It's critical race history that shall not and will not remain buried, because the Lord said he requires that which is past. And then they like to pretend, like, tell you to forget about it, pull yourself up by your bootstraps and work hard. Well, Negroes worked hard and built towns after slavery, bigger and better here in America than the white people did, in a lot of cases, so-called white people. And their towns, and they were all over America, and they were very prosperous. And the reason these towns were built up and built so well, because these Negroes were the ones who did all the work, these so-called Negroes. They're the ones that built up and made America great in the first place. And the movie we were talking about, the last lesson was The Harder They Come, The Harder They Fall, or something like that. The story about Cherokee Bill and Boz Reeves and, Treacherous Trudy, all these Jakes who are really real. And it just goes to show you that Jake had autonomous wealth operating within America without the help of Esau Edom, living separately and independently. All right. And then Esau destroyed that, and then, started ghettos and, put Jake in places and then gave them substandard, took away their ability to teach and pass on knowledge, to build up towns and things of that nature, man. And that has been lost, and then took away, our resources, and then they elevated our women over us, and then this is what you get. You get loudmouth, women like this one who are rebellious against their own people and support, Esau Edom.
And that's outrageous.
It is most outrageous, and I blame the people running NBC and NBC News, because to let that go on, and that's just one of many examples. I could sit here for an hour and we could watch and play racist statements against other blacks and against whites that appear on MSNBC all the time. It's terrible. In the meantime, watch this.
Those racist statements are when they're bringing out history and events that still affect us today. Like the one doctor, the attractive older sister who's always talking about post-traumatic slave syndrome. All right? That it's a real thing. And yet no one was ever treated for that. Even though Jake, was so industrious and so strong, we were able to build up these towns and live autonomously in a lot of places. But then a lot of Jakes were left hanging and had nothing. All right? And Esau wants to put you in a system where you completely depend upon him.
So watch this.
Critical race theory, which isn't real, turned the suburbs 15 points.
And I think we need to go on.
Critical race theory, which isn't real. Okay? So teaching about Tulsa, teaching about Rosewood, teaching about redlining, teaching about the Jim Crow era, teaching about the hangings, teaching about all the laws that didn't allow us to own property, to vote, to own firearms after we built this place up for free, and then built up our own towns and lived autonomously, had built up autonomous wealth, where we didn't depend on them when actually doing better than them. This is what, when this history begins to come out and put shame upon their glory, they don't like it. All right? Because they want the picture painted of them that they were just good Christians who loved everybody. And we know we enslaved you and sold you, but we brought you white Jesus. We brought you Christianity. All at the same time, they were hanging, burning, raping, and burning down our towns.
On the offense a little bit, and Terry McAuliffe tried to do this. Say it's a lie. They know it's a lie. But are you scared for your kids to learn about slavery or lynching?
Just two examples of the new mantra.
So he asked them, are you scared for them to learn about those things? And look at her scoffing. All right. The one lady said that it's not real. And then he said, are you scared, for them to learn about slavery and lynching, raping and burning and murdering and all the, you got to add all that in there too. And look at her scoff. You see? And him running his mouth. So if you want to go and watch this was on RT, called Black Professor, Blackface with White Supremacist Message. All right. Once again, Black Professor, Blackface with White Supremacist Message. If all it's going to do is make you angry. All right. But they want to pretend like, like these things didn't happen. All right. These things happened. I'm going to play a video and then read some scriptures. Let me read this real quick, though. They want to pretend that none of this happened. This is Nahum 1 and maybe it's not Nahum 1. Maybe I want to. Nahum. Oh yeah, this is Nahum 3 and 1, and it reads, woe to the bloody city. It is full of lies and robbery, and the prey departeth not. All right? The prey did not depart, man. So let me see if I can click on and find this video real quick. And found it. The video is called Beyond Tulsa. The secret history of flooding black towns to make lakes, on the Amber Ruffin show. All right. So let's click on it. And this is just one of many stories.
Coffee. I drip
Really?
with coffee. Flies everywhere. No way.
Thank you.
Over the past couple years, more Americans have become familiar with the story of the Tulsa Race Massacre, where a white mob burned a vibrant black community to the ground, which is crazy. Even crazier, dozens of other black towns have been erased off the American map.
Dozens.
Not by burning them down, but by hiding them underwater. Don't know what I mean? Well, let's find out in a segment called How Did We Get Here? This is Lake Lanier. It's a lake in Forsyth County, Georgia, where people go swimming and boating and fishing and do a bunch of other lakey things. But before it was Lake Lanier, it was a town called Oscarville, Georgia. Now, Oscarville was a thriving...
And you know what? I need to do something. I need to declare the Fair Use Act. I don't own this. Is Amber Ruffin's show. I don't own this this clip. I'm not benefiting from it. I'm not making any financial gain from it. I am using it for educational, informational, and purposes only. All right. There we go.
Thriving, predominantly black community with a church, a school, and dozens of homes. Until the year 1912, when a very bad thing happened.
All right. So in 1912, and then we got it all the way up to the early 1920s. All these things were taking place.
Oh, two very bad things. In 1912, two black teenagers were accused of rape. They were tried, convicted, and sentenced to death in a single day. And after they were executed, a mob of white men terrorized, drove out, or killed all the black people in the surrounding area. And they did that until the entire black community of Oscarville disappeared.
And no one went to jail. No one was arrested. Right? And it will be easy to find these people, find their families, and hold them legally accountable at this day and age. But they're not going to do that.
The county went from having over 1,000 black residents in 1912 to 0 in 1920. That story is so sad, it makes this story look like a comedy. After the black community had been run off, the white people of Forsyth County said, you know what we could use? A big old lake. So they made one, right where the town of Oscarville had just been. They flooded the area and literally covered up the entire town with water. This is what it looks like right now. But the town is still under there. The homes and churches and schools, they're still down there. And now people go boating on top of them. Compared to that, this is truly a rom-com. Now, you might be thinking, what a weird, isolated incident. But just like the rat who ate the pizza in the subway, this story is both crazy and common. Ever heard of Collegia, Alabama? It was once a thriving black community with a black college, the first black railroad, and literally hundreds of family homes. Today, it's Lake Martin. At least they had the decency to name it after a black person. And if you think this kind of thing only happened in the South, let me introduce you to a place called Central Park. It's named after that coffee shop on Friends. Central Park used to have a black community in it called York Hill. But the city of New York destroyed York Hill so that they could build the Central Park Reservoir.
You hear
Because
that?
if there's one thing New York needs, it's another place for ducks to hang out. But if you come here, don't try and feed those ducks. They are very aggressive.
There we go. The 5 things you missed in The Harder They Fall. Now that's this one that's on the screen. I'm gonna turn the sound down so that I don't get any copyright stuff. All right, just imagery, okay? But just want to freeze frame it. Well, that's Regina Green, one of my favorite actresses. I love this woman. All right, I'm just trying to click through it. And there we go. I just wanted to show some of the town. That's all I wanted to do. All right. What this is showing you is that there were black towns that had their own banks, their own saloons, their own hotels, their own businesses all across America. And you would never know that because they were burnt down and destroyed. All right. They were burnt down and destroyed. And all these people in this movie, too, were true characters. And the Negro was the first in the real cowboy, too. Because the Edomite or the pale male was called a cow hand. The Negro was called a cowboy. All right, just so you know that's factual history. And so when you think about it, man, we just went informed through the Amber Ruffin show about 12 towns that were put underwater. I didn't even know that. That was new to me. All right. They just covered up with water. But then we also know about the violent summer of 1912 with all the bloody riots and all the places that were burned to the ground, that were razed to the ground. People were lynched, murdered, killed, and raped. All right, by white rioters who always came with the same false accusation. Some white woman was raped. All right, and it would just be an accusation. And sometimes, if a white woman was raped, so-called, she was raped by a white man, but they would blame it on someone. I mean, come on, man. That's what happened in Rosewood. Facts. Okay? Let me grab a couple more scriptures and close this out. And see, this is the sort of thing that they don't want this kind of history taught in school. So it's okay for you to, matter of fact, to lie. Teach us all about everything that happened during the Renaissance, but not prior to it. Then even when you go to prior to the Renaissance, you put white faces on those characters. All right, like when you like the movie what was the movie Braveheart? What was the other one? The movie about Robert the Bruce. Those weren't white people. Those were copper-colored people, brown people, Negroes. All right, that ruled Europe for almost 1,000-year period, from the time of the fall of Rome, when it became the Holy Roman Empire, all the way up until the rebirth, which was the Renaissance, was what? The rebirth of Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. All right, and they tried to whitewash history, and there's a holy mountain of evidence to prove it, but they just want to look the other way when you present the evidence or ignore it. All right? But the Lord is going to enter into the house of the thief. Matter of fact, let me grab Exodus 21:16. See the Numbers or Exodus, one or the other. Right, and it is Exodus. And it reads, "And he that stealeth a man and selleth him, or if he be found in his hand, he shall surely be put to death." All right, so you still owe us for the slave trade within itself. All right, so when you rape, robber, and murdering, because the slave trade started with the so-called Hispanics and natives. All right, then they started going to West Africa and to Europe, snatching up Negroes. All right, or if you really want to get technical, though, some of those Negroes that went into slavery during the fall of Grenada, some of them went into slavery. All right, during the fall of Grenada, when the Moors and the Jews went down. All right, after that 700-year reign of the Moors in Spain and Portugal. All right, but who was among those Moors in Spain and Portugal? The Jews, the Morenos. All right, those crypto Jews who later were called Huguenots, that they began to spread across Europe and come to the Americas and help set up the colonies. So there's a lot of history that Esau Edom has set up and whitewashed, as if because I just was in the hospital visiting my father, and he had some Western on with a whole bunch of Edomites on it. And like I said, the way growing up watching TV, all them first colored films and old black and white movies, you would think that there was no such thing as a town like this with so-called black people in it, where they have their own banks and hotels and things of that nature, man. You wouldn't even know that it existed. The way they tried to bury and hide all that, all that information. All right, that they had their own saloons and that you would never know all this. All right, but let me grab one more scripture and we'll wrap this up. This is Ecclesiastes, I believe it's 3 and well, you know what? I was gonna read 3 and 15. But I'm going to get started, want to read some of this and then jump down. But it said, this is Ecclesiastes 3 and 1, and it reads, "To everything there is a season and a time of every purpose under heaven." Every purpose. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted. The earth was given into the hands of the wicked, who is Esau, Edom, who is, people who refer to themselves as Caucasian, white, European, that whole sort of thing. All right, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, and all those things that are at hand. Because he said it's a time to kill, because Esau Edom would tell you that thou shalt not kill. This actually thou shalt not murder. They changed that the wording there. All right, because if you're killing, it's saying it's a time to kill. If you're killing, it's actually righteous. Okay, because it's being done for a righteous thing, self-defense, to defend your city, your house, your home, yourself. All right. To murder, that's a whole different thing. That's you taking someone's life unrighteously without cause. All right. And a time to heal. And we need healing. Our people need healing, man. And there is no healing in Babylon. A time to break down. And that's what's happening. The Lord is breaking down Babylon, and he's building up the tribes. All right. It says a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance. It is not time to dance. All right. A time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. All right. A time to get and a time to lose. So Esau has gotten, this is his kingdom, and now it's time for him to lose. All right. Let me jump up to verse 15. It says, "That which have been is now, and that which is to be have already been. And God requireth that which is past." So all this cognitive dissonance, ignoring the facts, ignoring the history, all that was in the past, You weren't there. Nobody living suffered through any of that. But we're directly affected by it still to this day as you, because your people benefited from those actions, from those crimes, still to this day. You put a lake over those towns for your enjoyment. And those people never got their property or that wealth. They weren't able to pass it on to their children, nor get any justice for their deaths. Because I can only imagine how many people were in those houses. Those houses and homes became their tombs, and they put lakes over them, flooded them, and now they build up cabins on the shores and little docks and ride their boats around. You got a lot to pay for, Esau Edom. Call Halal Yahweh Shem Shai, by Hashem Rakakwadash, Wa Abba Babal Kwam Yasharala. Shalom.